Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Lucid Sight Collective. Today we're going to be talking about the history of dreams in the ancient world and just how sacred dreaming really was to them. I will talk about a bunch of different cultures, and you guys will see just how connected they all are and how similar the beliefs in the ancient world was, and how much they differ from today and why that is. Shamanic cultures believed that dreams are a key to realities hidden from our five senses, and that there are many subtle worlds that exist parallel to and overlapping the physical one. And to them, dreams were a connection to these higher realities. They were a bridge to the soul and a journey to the realm of the spirit. In fact, many Aboriginal cultures throughout the world believed in a concept called dream time, which they see that as a separate reality entirely, a collective space where one has direct access to sacred knowledge and can communicate with the deceased and learn from the spiritual masters who have transcended the physical world. And to many Indigenous cultures, such as the Iroquois, someone who was not in touch with their dreams was also not in touch with their soul. So not only were dreams very important to them, but they were vital. For some people, it's hard to understand and take these ancient concepts seriously in the modern world. But to understand this, we first have to break down our walls and accept the fact that dreams might be important and they might be anything but meaningless. And we also have to understand that we don't have a lot of research on dreams in general. Scientists have yet to come to a consensus of why we even dream or what dreams really are. So with open minds, let's take a little peek into the past of how cultures saw dreaming and what they believed it was. And this is going to be really interesting, guys, and it might get a little weird because this is the ancient world, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. But without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start with the Sumerians for obvious reasons. This is pretty much the dawn of human civilization as we know it. The ancient Sumerians lived in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, and through the recorded stories of Gilgamesh, you read of the king's reoccurring dreams of his mother. And these dreams were taken as prophecy and used to guide the king's decisions in the waking world. And it's clear from these stories that dreams have been playing a historical role for at least the past 5,000 years. Even though Gilgamesh is technically a myth, it is based on a real king, so I thought it was at least worthy of mentioning. But the first solid recorded evidence of dreaming being revered in a society and it being part of the culture is found amongst the ancient Egyptians. And they actually believed that dreams are a direct connection to the spirit world. The Egyptians appeared to actually have practiced a form of lucid dreaming and were likely to have mastered dream skills such as shape-shifting and time travel within the dream. They even believed that one could astral project their soul out of their body while they're sleeping and explore the astral realm while they're sleeping. And this is actually how we know that they were participating in dream work, because through the hieroglyphics that have been translated, there has been a ton of information that we've got. One clear indicator comes from their belief in the Ba, or the soul, which they thought could travel consciously outside the body while the body slept. And even their word for dreams translates as awakening or to come awake, and was depicted in hieroglyphs as an open eye. Scholars say that the open eye might also signify an awakening to truths or advice or insight commonly missed in daily waking life that comes to us in the dream. Ancient Egypt is also the first place that we see dream incubation documented. And the Egyptians were so into dreams that they even constructed temples specifically for the practice of dream incubation. And dream incubation is different than a lucid dream because a lucid dream is as you're dreaming, you recognize that you're in the dream and your conscious mind kind of wakes up and you're aware while you're in the dream. But dream incubation is before you go to sleep. You almost create the intention of what you will dream about, or you have the intention of this greater knowledge that will come to you while you're sleeping. And in the ancient world, there were a bunch of different rituals to do this through the different cultures. All of them varied, but this started in ancient Egypt. So if they had an important question or some sort of problem in their life that they'd like to solve, they'd travel to a dream temple where they'd be closer to a particular god, and the Egyptian subjects would pose their question to the gods before falling asleep in the temple. And then they'd dream in hopes of receiving divine advice about their troubles. And dream incubation techniques were developed in other parts of the world as well. And they often got pretty weird because this is like a sleep ritual that they do before they go to sleep. So the natives of Peru would perform an incubation ritual that would start with the patient being rubbed from head to toe with a living guinea pig. You could not make this stuff up. Um, this part is really sad, but it was done in such a way that the guinea pig would die by the end of the procedure. I don't know why I'm laughing, but afterward the animal would be skinned, and from the blood and entrails, a diagnosis would be read. Oh my God, that's so messed up. Other methods include pre-dream fasting and sleeping in trees, or even inserting splints and ropes under the subject's skin. Oh, that's intense. Wow. So yeah, like I said, the rituals vary from culture to culture, but I guess dream incubation was kind of freaky in the ancient world. It's still a thing today, but it's more like just intention based, and like lucid dreaming, it's a skill that you can develop. But I don't really think that people are rubbing live guinea pigs on themselves anymore. Hopefully, I would hope. But yeah, ancient Egypt, big place for dreams. They really believed that the dream world was a deeper reality than the waking world, and that it contained all the truths of the universe. And the dream interpreters of the time were called the masters of the secret things. So that is quite the job title. But yeah, if I had to guess, I would say that the ancient Egyptians weren't the first ancient culture to unlock lucid dreaming and like realize how intensely spiritual the dream world is. My guess is that it started in ancient Sumeria, but there's not really that much that we have on that culture, like as opposed to the ancient Egyptians. They usually get the credit for like starting this ancient wisdom, which is true. Like I am obsessed with the ancient Egyptians, but there are even more ancient cultures in the past that have unlocked these ancient wisdoms. So yeah, my guess is that ancient Egypt just kind of like made it popular and like got it down, but I don't think that it started with them. But this is all the evidence we have. Like we can't just like go back and see. So we're working with what we got. But the next place we're going to visit is ancient Greece. And the ancient Greeks, we actually know, got their start of dreaming and the start of the knowledge that they have from the Egyptians. And ancient Greeks saw dreams as a spiritual practice as well and a connection to the divine. And at first, only Zeus was thought to send divine dreams, but as time went on, other gods were apparently allowed to send dreams too. So there were two gods who specifically ruled in the arena of dreaming. Hypnos presided over sleep, and his son Morpheus ruled dreams. The Greeks also built a ton of shrines to serve as dream temples. It says that there are more than 300 shrines in ancient Greece to serve as dream temples. They're all scattered across the Mediterranean. These temples were heavily involved with dream healing, where the sick came to physically heal or also emotionally and spiritually, but it's interesting that they believed that dreams could physically heal you with the help of like nightly dreams and like dreaming in these temples. Dreams are also a topic heavily talked about in the ancient Greek philosophers of the time. And well over 2,000 years before Freud theorized this, Plato theorized that dreams are the expression of our repressed desires. In his book, The Republic, he wrote that in all of us, even the most highly respectable, there is a lawless, wild beast nature which peers out in our sleep. And on the other hand, Aristotle, while fascinated by the fact that we can perceive colors, lights, and images with our eyes closed during sleep, concluded that dreams had to have no purpose. But they foretell the future. No, mere coincidence. And then, of course, we have a bunch of other philosophers that are talking about dream interpretation and directly linking two things. So they say, like, if you see a cat in your dreams, this represents the adulterer, for it is a bird thief, and a bird resembles women. So, yeah, there's a lot of ancient Greek philosophy that is just kind of meaningless, I guess. Like, at least from my perspective, like, I don't see this as something that holds value to everyone. Like, yeah, it might mean that for some people, but you need to take in like your own personal background into account. But to be honest, we haven't really gotten much further in like understanding dreams since ancient Greece. Like Freud literally theorized the same thing as Plato. And another one of the theories of why we dream is there's no reason. So Plato and Aristotle both, like, their theories stand up to this day, and there's only like a couple more theories that scientists have come up with since then. And there's no consensus on why we dream or how we dream. And like the Greeks, the Romans also took a lot of their dream beliefs from the Egyptians, and obviously they piggybacked off of ancient Greece too, like the rest of their culture. They had everything from dream incubation to dream temples, and they took a lot of the Greek philosophy and kind of made it their own. And they had this metaphysical system of beliefs that was based on mathematics, but had nothing to do with like geometry or anything like that. But it stated that this conscious soul travel was possible and that the spiritual gurus born centuries apart could communicate through these mystical avenues. And then as more Romans were converted to Christianity, dream interpretation was kind of refocused through the lens of the Bible, and that dream temple culture was completely wiped out. Now we're going to kind of segue to what the Hindus believed about dreaming and the dream world. So, according to Hindu mythology, everything around us in the physical world, the waking world, is all but a dream happening inside of Vishnu's mind. And even we ourselves are only manifestations or dream characters, if you will, inside Vishnu's mind. And they also think that our world will completely end and cease to exist when Vishnu's dream ends. They say that dreaming gives us a glimpse of the God who creates us by dreaming us into existence. And Hindus themselves believe that dreaming in itself is a higher state of consciousness than the waking state. So they believe that when they go to sleep and have their own dreams, not the dream of Vishnu, but their own dreams, they are in a higher consciousness than if they were awake. And also, just a disclaimer, this is Hinduism in the ancient world. So now there's, there can be like a bunch of different types of it. And like even in the ancient world, there was that. But I'm specifically talking about the ancient world's beliefs, not like modern day Hinduism. I kind of touched on this in the last episode, but dream yoga was a big part amongst the ancient Tibetan Buddhists, and it actually lays the foundations of lucid dreaming and the techniques that we use today, to this very day. That's actually so crazy because dream yoga amongst the Tibetan Buddhists date back to at least 1,000 years ago. So while ancient Egyptians and Greeks knew the power of dreams, these yogis were the pioneers of lucid dreaming in the modern day culture, and we cannot thank them enough for laying the groundwork for us. Unlike the ancient Egyptians, who were more elusive in their dream work, these yogis described specific techniques to achieve lucidity and training the consciousness. And once they became aware of the dream state and actually achieved lucidity, they had to complete a number of tasks, which then in turn led to higher progression and higher levels of their practice. And these challenges included the exploration of various worlds, so speaking with enlightened dream beings and shapeshifting into other animals, just to name a few. So these are common themes in lucid dreaming that we have today. You can speak and communicate to your dream characters, and each dream character is different and has a different level of knowledge that you can learn from, but all of it is a part of you, and it can help you learn about yourself. The ultimate goal for a dream yogi was to become conscious of the fact that all life is but a dream. And apprehending the dream is the term that meant attaining complete conscious awareness. They believed that becoming conscious in the dream could then in turn help become conscious in waking life. And if the practitioner could really, really become aware in a dream, they thought that the dream would bleed together into this big mix of egoless bliss, pure nothingness. And once a yogi has entered this nothingness, he would be able to observe the absolute purest form of conscious awareness. As Ram Dass would say, I am loving awareness. Dream yoga is kind of another world within itself, so I'll definitely do a full episode dedicated to this at some point. But these Tibetan Buddhist monks, a big part of their study was meditation. And this meditation is an integral part of lucid dreaming. If you are going to become aware while you're sleeping, then you have to be able to be aware while you're awake and live consciously as much as you can. And this trains the brain to constantly be aware, even when you're in a dream. Meditation is, to me, the integral part of lucid dreaming. I also think that the dream beliefs of the Chinese are really interesting. Um, Recorded evidence of dreaming in Chinese cultures dates back to over 4,000 years ago. That is so long ago. Like other cultures from that era, the Chinese ideas of dreams intertwined with other concepts. They believed dreaming was the realm of the dead and of the spirit. And they actually divided the soul into two parts, the material soul and the spiritual soul. And at night, when the physical body was at rest, the spiritual soul would depart from the body. So this is kind of like what the ancient Egyptians believed with astral projection in dreams, but this is a little bit different. They believed that the spiritual soul was free to visit the land of the dead or commune with the souls of other dreamers. But they believed that if you wake someone up before their soul comes back into their body, then they would die or their soul would be lost. Like they would never be the same, or it would put them into some sort of coma. Dream culture also shows up in Hebrew history. So if you look in the book written between 200 and 500 CE, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but the Talmud, it instructs on how to apply the Torah to everyday life. And if you look in here, there's over 200 references to dreams. And it even has dream dictionaries of sorts that kind of allows the reader to analyze dreams and nightmares and visions. And it states that dreams which are not understood are like letters which are not opened. And dreaming was considered to be a direct way to receive guidance from God. And this varies heavily from the Christian religion and culture, which they were not about dreams. Like, they did not want them to be a part of the culture. I don't know if they were scared of them, but they believed that they were evil in some way. Despite there being plenty of nods to divine dreams in the Bible and dream interpretations of God coming to you in the dreams, everyone who is Christian knows these stories of like the angels coming to Mary and Joseph in their sleep. Regardless of that being in the Bible, as the religion moved forward, dreams were like heavily censored, and this shows up in the European Middle Ages. And as the dogmatic practices of Christianity spread throughout Europe, dreams began to take a back seat. And although you can't really censor dreams, obviously, like you have them if you have them, you can demonize them to the public and change the cultural outlook around them. And that is exactly what the Christian church did in the Middle Ages. And as Christianity continued to spread during this time, dreams were definitely looked down on as being evil and sinful. And Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, but the middle-aged Martin Luther, he spread word that the devil was responsible for dreams and that divine messages could only be received through the church and the priest. And St. John stated that dreams were insubstantial. And after the Dark Ages, dreaming was basically swept under the rug. And anthropologist Raymond L.M. Lee notes that even after the Renaissance, dreams were treated as unremarkable by products of psychological disturbance or bad digestion that poses no real value. It wasn't really until the turn of the 20th century that dreams were brought out of the darkness by our friend Dr. Sigmund Freud, where he started an entire branch of psychology devoted to unlocking his patients' unconscious minds through the interpretation of their dreams. Not only had the dust been brushed off this topic, but dreams were starting to be seen in an entirely new light. And some of Freud's students were actually beginning to challenge his thinking on dreams. Carl Jung one of his students, actually started to theorize that dreams were not only about the past, but they're also about the present too. And he felt that dreams show us what we're striving towards and trying to achieve, as well as what stands in our way. Jung's ideas were kind of out there. If you look at his essays, his academic essays, you'll find surprising topics like psychic powers, collective dreaming, and telepathy. He believed that we dreamed in the collective unconscious, which is a shared space. And he coined the terms archetype and synchronicity. Thanks to Jung, a lot of modern day dream explorers were inspired to think outside the box and exploring dream ideas that have been buried since the ancient world. This idea that Jung has is also shared with a lot of cultures in the ancient world, as well as most of the indigenous tribes of the ancient world. They believed that dreaming was a very social activity, and these cultures thought that when they dream, we go to a shared realm that's not limited by space or time. One can have dream visitors in addition to visiting other people's dreams. And they believed that everything around us contains spirit, and we access the spirit realm when we dream, and also in the waking world too. Dreams were often a source of guidance, not only for the individual, but for the entire community, and were used in hunting, healing, and war. And every morning when you would wake up, you would share your adventures of the previous night. That was the culture in these indigenous tribes. Sorry, I'm getting so tongue-tied this episode. I don't really know why. I'm getting over a cold, so if you guys hear me being like really nasally, that's why. I'm really congested right now, and I think it's causing me to not be able to speak English. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Are dreams private and separate experiences happening only in our minds? Or is it possible that dreams take place in a shared and collective place? Or is it a bit of a mixture of the two? As we now know, many civilizations before us believed in some kind of dream sharing, notably the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Chinese and many indigenous cultures. Do we share more dream experiences than we realize? And if this is the case, there are some potential reasons why we're forgetting. First of all, we don't remember all of our dreams. And when we dream of someone else, we don't always share it with them the following day. And we are unconsciously consumed by our own private projections while we dream. Therefore, are we too wrapped up in our own worlds to connect with our fellow dreamers? These are all interesting questions to ponder. And there is no way that we can know right now. We just don't have the technology. But if you look into all of these ancient cultures, it was a common belief in the ancient world. And to me, that stands out as having some credibility at least. And the more dreams that you have and have written down, the more you'll experience like, wait, was that person? Like, that seemed so real. And you'll have these crazy dream experiences and phenomena. And yeah, I think for me personally, I think it's a mixture of it all. Like, I personally believe there are different levels, and sometimes it's just you, but other times you are definitely not alone in your dreams. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I am curious to hear what you guys think about this. And if you want to ask questions or tell me about a dream experience that you've had, I would love to hear it. You can DM me at lucid.sight.co on Instagram. I don't have an email set up yet, but yeah, just follow me on Instagram, and that's my art account, but it's also my podcast account now, I guess. And yeah, in the future, I'm definitely going to do like a dream story, like listeners story episodes. So if you guys have cool dream experiences, definitely send those over to me and I'll formulate some kind of listener story episode for you guys. It's going to be really fun to hear everyone's stories. So please send me dream experiences, please. And with that being said, thanks for stopping by, guys. I will talk to you soon.